Dave, are we ready to get started? Sorry, I just ate this candy. One of my favorites. Okay, let's go ahead and convene the December 18, 2025 Wastewater Subcommittee between Pinole and Hercules. There we go. We'll go ahead and get started with item 1, call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. We'll go to the clerk for roll call.
Councilmember Grimsley, sorry.
Present.
Chair Taif.
Present.
Councilmember Vice Chair Murphy.
Present.
And Councilmember Bataray is absent today. And thank you, we have a quorum.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move to approval of minutes from the July 10th, 2025 meeting. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Roll call for approval of the minutes from July 10, 2025. Councilmember Grimsley.
Aye.
Chair Taif.
Aye.
Vice Chair Murphy.
Aye.
And the minutes have been approved.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and move to item 4, citizens to be heard for items not on the agenda. Do we have any citizens to be heard? Do we have any online? We're all good? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to item 5, Water Pollution Control Plant Operations Report.
I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to appear on the screen so that everybody can see.
All right.
PCTV?
Okay.
Okay.
Should we proceed without it? If you guys have the PowerPoint in front of you, we can just work off of that.
Sure, we can do that. So we're having some system difficulties, but the PowerPoint was included in the agenda submitted. So, okay, please go.
Okay, so the topics that we'll include for the operations report is the monthly flow data, the monthly performance indicators, project updates, and operations and maintenance updates. I'll first go through the monthly flow data for July, August, and September. I'm just going to go through the total flow for each Hercules and Pinole. So for Hercules, for the month of July, we had a total flow of 41.41 million gallons, or 52% of the flow. For Pinole, we had 37.77 million gallons, or 48% of the flow. For the month of August for Hercules, we had 39.22 million, or 51% of total flow. For Pinole, we had a total of 37.96 million gallons, or 49% of the total flow. For the month of September, for Hercules, the total was 36.56 million gallons, or 49% of the total flow. And for Pinole, it was 37.96 million gallons, or 51% of the total flow. Since these were all relatively dry months, the flow totals were relatively even for both cities. Next, I'll go through the monthly performance indicators. This is our laboratory data for the months of July, August, and September. So for CBOD, we had an effluent average of 7.11 or 96% removal. For total suspended solids, we had an effluent average of 13.21 or 96% removal. Our Enterococcus most probable number was 1.8, and our ammonia was 32 milligrams per liter. For the month of August, our CBOD had an effluent average of 8.95 or 95% removal. Our total suspended solids had an effluent average of 12.6 or 96% removal. Our Enterococcus most probable number was 1.4, and our ammonia was 15 milligrams per liter. For the month of September, we had an effluent average of 6.95. For total suspended solids, we had an effluent average of 12.04 or 97% removal. For Enterococcus, we had a 1.4 most probable number. For ammonia, we had an effluent average of 34 milligrams per liter. Is there any questions on the monthly flow data or the monthly performance indicators?
I know this is the data. Well, first let me ask, are there any questions from directors on the board?
No.
I wanted to ask, and I know I'm kind of skipping ahead, but I know that there was some meter work that was done.
Yes.
Upon installing the new meters, did you guys see any deltas between, or from the calibration of the meter and the new meter going in?
Recording in progress.
No, the flow meters are calibrated anytime there's maintenance or an upgrade. So during that calibration, if there's any mean or adjustment that needs to be made, then that's made at that time.
I see. Okay. I'm just wondering if there was any kind of efficiencies or data that was missing in there that might have been showing more flow than in actual.
Got it.
So, yeah, that's the only reason why I asked, but okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to project updates. So the project updates will include our blower replacement, nutrient probes installation, effluent outfall project, and the wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance manual. The first project update we'll talk about is the blower replacement. So the first blower has been completely installed now. So if you guys recall, we had one blower that had experienced a failure, and the manufacturer was not able to source replacement parts for that blower. So we got pricing from 3 other blower manufacturers. We ended up purchasing and installing a new 200 horsepower blower from APG Neros. So our new blower is from APG Neros, and that's been completely installed by staff. We got pricing to install it from outside contractors, but we were able to do it in-house. That was a cost savings of about $35,000, and pat on the back to the city staff who was able to get that job done. The next project update is on the nutrient probes installation. So as we've talked about in previous meetings, we know that the increased regulations from the Water Board have caused us to take a harder look at our nutrient removal process. The plant was designed for biological nutrient removal. We're not currently operating in that mode, but we want to move in that direction to meet future regulations. So we've installed YSI nutrient probes to track our nutrients and our ability to remove them as water travels through the aeration basin. So that's the project that we took on. The nutrient probes themselves were about 45,000, and city staff mostly installed them, and we did some electrical work by our SCADA integrator to finalize and program the probes so that they could be online and hysterizing the data so that we can analyze that and figure out the best way to progress to biological nutrient removal when the time comes. So that project is now completed. The next project update I'll talk about is the effluent outfall project. We don't have any real update on this project. It went out to bid in summer of 2004, but we didn't have any bidders. We have since then increased the design budget amount and the scope of work, and we are preparing to put that project out to bid again. Our staffing has been low, and we have not been able to finish repackaging that project yet and putting it out to bid. But as soon as we do have adequate staffing available, that project will go back out to bid.
Can I ask a question on that? So we did talk about, I know in the city of Pinole, adding another engineering position to help kind of share the cost between the wastewater plant, and we talked about the projects. So I'm asking that question again. Has there been any progress to capture that person, and then what challenges are you guys seeing?
The position was posted actually on July 1st. It was approved as part of the budget process, and as soon as we were able to post it on July 1st, we did that. And we had to repost it. We've gone through a couple of rounds of interviews. There hasn't been good candidates per se. So we are going to take it off of the website and then repost it again at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of January. And we're actually going to use some of the salary savings to pay for posting them on a number of professional publications to cover the cost.
Okay.
So we will expand the scope of posting the positions, and we're hoping to be able to
Get a different
receive-
candidate pool.
Yes.
I got it.
In the meantime, we're also gone through all of our agreements with engineering firms so that we would retain or extend one of the agreements for a consulting firm to assist us with the outstanding projects
Okay.
using, again, the salary savings.
Okay. Yeah. Please.
Excuse me, I have a question with regard to the increased scope of work and what impact, if any, that may have on the bidding process.
So the increased scope of work, we plan on potentially adding some work to analyze potential upgrades to prepare for biological nutrient removal, the future regulations that are coming. Originally, this project was just covering the effluent outfall. And to refresh everyone's memory, that project was left over from the previous plant upgrade. It was kind of deferred because at the end of that project, costs were rising, and it was just decided to defer that work. But the effluent outfall project, its goal is to see the benefit of the previous plant upgrade. The previous plant upgrade, we increased the effluent pump station to have the pumping capacity to get more water to the outfall. However, at the outfall, there's a smaller pipe size. The pipe size leaving the treatment plant is 24 inches, and a portion of the pipe at the outfall is only 18 inches. So there's a restriction there that's keeping us from realizing the amount of effluent pumping capacity that we should be able to pump to our outfall. So that's the essence of that project. And as far as increasing the scope, as I mentioned, we need a project to analyze potential upgrades that might be necessary for nutrient removal. So that's why we're looking at adding some of that scope into this project. So that scope will increase the cost, and we did increase the budget amount for the design in order to try and estimate how much additional budget we'll need.
So no real impact to the bidding process per se.
Yeah, when you have a larger scope and a bigger budget, hopefully that will attract more bidders. That's the hope.
Thank you.
Okay, the last project update is for the wastewater treatment plant operations and maintenance manual, which I'm still working on. So that's in progress, and I'm hoping to finish that by the end of the first quarter 2026. So I'll move on to operations and maintenance updates. I'll just give a couple updates on some things that took place since we've met last. We had we have two centrifuges at the plant that are used to dewater solids before they are disposed of at the landfill. One of those centrifuges experienced a motor failure. That was a 100 horsepower motor. So we replaced that motor. That was done by city staff. And that centrifuge is now back in service and operational. The second update I'll give you is on the influent flow meters. So both the influent flow meter for Hercules and Pinole were experiencing problems, and one of them we replaced and one of them we made a repair to. And both of those flow meters are now back in service. You can kind of see the picture here to give you an idea of what the flow meter manhole view looks like. But yeah, as I said, both of those flow meters were repaired and are back in service. That's the end of the operations report. If you have any other questions, I'll take those now.
Are there any questions?
No questions, but great work on the replacements. I know that was an issue earlier on this year, so thanks to you and the staff for making those happen.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close out item 5. Was there anything from the director? Yeah, please.
We just wanted to share that we did replace one blower. We have scheduled for this budget cycle to replace the other 2 blowers.
Okay. So that kind of covers that redundancy that we were talking about.
Yes.
Great to hear. Great to hear. Okay. Sounds good. I think we'll move to new sewer connections for item 6, Pinole and Hercules, verbal report. Are there any new?
We don't have any new connections for Pinole.
Okay.
We have one new connection for Hercules.
Okay. I think one of the things that I wanted to ask about connections is as far as capacity goes, and acceptance of wastewater. I know that we just went through this upgrade and the plant is running well, but how much could the plant actually handle? I mean, I know that we have some property in the valley, and there's also the question of connections, right? And it's a pretty large property, about 40 acres worth of land. I'm not saying that anything's going to happen or will happen, but I'm sure Hercules has some other areas that may be of interest in the next 5 to 10 years. What happens, I guess, what would happen if somebody were to say, hey, we want to start doing a project there? In either city, is that something that is possible, not possible? What is your, I guess, how would we find that out or know about that?
Well, just strictly on a capacity basis, we're permitted for 4.06 million gallons per day dry weather flow. Our current average dry weather flow is around 2.5 million gallons. So we still have capacity for growth within the two cities.
Okay. And so for, I guess, infiltration, we said infiltration and inflow, how's that effort going? I know we have connections, but I know to the director, we talked briefly about what the connections look like when we started to look at stormwater. I think this was a while back. And I know recently you brought up the this is the rack system.
The RAC system and the possibility of establishing a GPA for the agencies within the region, yes.
So the question I was going to have was, one, we know we probably have connections from stormwater to our sewer system somewhere sprinkled out in the system. And this is just more speaking on the Pinole side, but would those credits also equate? I don't know if they would or wouldn't in that JPA. And then secondly, how does the city approach, I know we did a sewer master plan, how do we approach reducing those flows that shouldn't be in the system?
The credits are intended for meeting the requirements set by the water board for the stormwater.
Right.
So they wouldn't necessarily reflect in credits within the treatment plant. They have different objectives. The second question was, I'm sorry?
Well, it's more of those, how would we go about correcting those? So if out of that 2 million, I know that during wet weather, we start to see a larger flow, or is that our maximum, the 2.6 that you had?
Wet weather capacity is 20 million gallons. So yeah, there's
Okay.
a lot more flow than average dry weather during winter months when you have the I&I coming in.
And so I'm trying to understand with the I&I, how do we as a city identify where that is so that we can reduce those amounts? And then the reason why I brought up the rack system is there a nexus between the stormwater corrections with regional flow, and can you use the rack system to say, hey, we reduced X amount of water going into the sewer system? And being that it's a regional water quality control board that I think is monitoring both in two different branches, there might be a conversation really statewide about, because we're not the only city that has that problem, right? And so it's wondering whether or not those credits could actually be applied to a different type of stormwater mitigation.
That's a great question, and I would actually have to take it back to the group
course.
as we establish the agreement and figure out how we can benefit the most
Right.
out of the possibility of having credits for the different agencies. But one of the examples that we used when we presented information on the possibility of establishing the GPA is, for example, investing in a large trash capture device at a downflow location near the bay.
Right.
So something like this would benefit in an indirect way the treatment
Right.
plant. So yes, there is a connection, but it's the way it's being discussed now. It's not being.
It's one arm doing one thing, the other arm
Yes.
doing another.
Yes.
I'm just kind of drawing the conclusion between a small city that, the two cities that run this plant, being that our flows have been high for years. And the question becomes, could it have been a bad contractor or bad work by a contractor? I mean, it's a lot of flow. And so it's almost to the point where it's like, well, wait a second, there's probably a larger storm drain line identified within the city to find out where that storm drain line is and find those that could support that level of flow coming in. And so I just started to kind of connect those dots and was wondering how we start to reduce those flows and then question, okay, what is our new capacity, you know, if we can get consistent flows off of that. And then being that that property is way in the, I think it's way in the valley, that's a long way to get to to the plant. And so I was just trying to understand.
However, the stormwater master plan that as referenced, it's covering the citywide.
Right.
And now we're going to cover all locations with the item that was approved by City Council on Tuesday for adding
Right.
80
Yeah.
additional locations. The plan is expected to be completed by the end of September of 2026, although I extended the agreement until the end of the year. There will be a modeling work and will identify through that the various capacity needs throughout the system.
I think that's the missing piece. Because without the you'd have to do the rational method. You're going to get a queue that's got to sum up to a queue downstream. And then we could try to pinpoint where the stormwater, I got it. Thanks.
Typically, the way the agencies find where I&I is coming in is, or one of the ways is smoke testing.
Right, but it's where do you start that testing, right? And so I think what I'm hearing is we're going to find out our estimated water flows that we should be expecting from each storm drain, and then measure, right? And then what we'll find is somewhere it's going to be 100 gallons, but we're measuring 50, and then pinpoint where that connection might be. I got it. Thank you, directors. I mean, I just had to walk through it in my mind, but if we quickly get to that, then that kind of starts that conversation about what capacities look like. And I don't know if that's something that Hercules has been experiencing, but I know in Pinole it's been quite some time since we've been able to, and we're paying for this water going out into the bay. So it's kind of like one of those things where how do we reduce?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, infiltration inflow is a challenging problem. I mean, Hercules has 62 miles of collection system, not including the private sewer laterals. We do have a private sewer lateral program, when a home sale occurs or when there's a new connection, they are required to camera the sewer lateral and identify areas there might be infiltration occurring and correct that. But there could be more that could be done. And part of what needs to happen within the collection system should be addressed in the sanitary sewer management plan that each city prepares and submits to the board.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Those are my questions. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. I did have another one, but I wanted to open up. Please.
Mine sort of piggybacks on yours because as you were speaking, I began to think about the increased development in the city of Pinole, the increased population in the city of Hercules, and those impacts as well. I think you somewhat addressed that in terms of the home sales or development, then the need for new sewer laterals and the inspection of existing sewer laterals. I guess the question that I have is, do you feel that our cities are prepared for the anticipated growth that each city is facing in the not-so-distant future with the current infrastructure?
I mean, just speaking about sewer,
Yes.
I think Director Binder pointed out that there is currently, capacity remaining or available within the treatment facility to accommodate additional inflow, dry weather inflow. So there is some room for additional growth. But, you know, and I can't speak for Pinole, but within Hercules, you know, there is some of the older segments of sewer that does require upgrades. So, you know, that needs to be evaluated when each development gets added. So, yeah, I mean, there is, you know, additional evaluation that needs to occur to make sure that new development is accommodated and accounted for properly.
Okay, yeah.
If I may
Great
add to that, with regards to the city of Pinole, for newer developments, it's somewhat easier because they are implementing new infrastructures that we get to oversee and inspect. But we also recently updated the guidelines for replacements and repairs of sewer lateral that was approved by City Council. Based on the council direction, the city now actually supports on a scale system property owners with a maximum amount allowed for either repair or replacement to assist them to activate the process of replacements of sewer lateral. So we recently implemented this update and we're progressing in contacting the property owners that we have on our list as outstanding. And we also have the required to obtain first the video, and based on that, we determine what type of improvement is needed.
Thank you for that. I just was asking those questions just because we did have a lot of housing development recently, and what does that impact look like? It sounds like it's minimal. I did want to ask, and this is more towards the committee, about this subcommittee and the work that we're doing. Looking at the plant, we went through a $44 million upgrade. I guess building in that capacity, what do we see next for the plant moving forward? And I know this might not be something you guys have for today, but in our next committee, I think we got to really have kind of, I know we talked about the maintenance manual, and that's great because we're maintaining what we have, right? I'm just trying to think, where does one go with this after you've just done this huge upgrade? What are the next things that we need to be looking at? Is there financing that needs to start, conversations and forward planning conversations that need to happen now, so that we're not, you know, racing to get something out the door, or that we start that plan now. Also, I mean, the technologies are really changing along with the regulations and trying to keep up with that component. So if there's a way to maybe just, and I know you guys are not going to be able to answer this now, but maybe coming back to this committee with some future planning so that we could start talking about those technologies that we see coming. And then there was also the question of the subcommittee was pretty much formed because of these large upgrades that we've been doing. It sounds like we're in a really good place. So I'm wondering, meeting intervals, content, what do you need out of the electeds here? And then moreover, is it something that can be placed on consent for both cities? Is it something we need to convene? I enjoy these conversations. I think we got, I know my nerves are at ease because that I always was something in the background, like guys, we're just paying for water that we really shouldn't be paying for. But to hear that the stormwater, and that there's a way of getting to where this INI is coming from, and to know that the directors are on top of that, puts my mind at ease and would put the public's mind at ease. I know it's a complicated subject, but when you start talking about it, it's a lot of money that may be going out into the bay that we can kind of mitigate. So I'm trying to figure out, is there a way for this to somewhat get elevated to the council so that we can have those conversations there? I know that that's probably going to be in our capital plan, and we'll have that conversation there. But I'm trying to figure out what this body really needs and how we can contribute to help you guys. So maybe give that some thought too for our next meeting. Is to do we need to be meeting quarterly? Is it something we should meet semi-annually? And what would be the most appropriate?
And
Just to try and answer the first part of that question about, we just had a $45 million plant upgrade, and where are we going from here? So we do have a 5-year capital improvement plan with projects and equipment on there for, over the next 5 years, and projected dollar amounts to try and estimate how much we'll need for each of those projects. The effluent outfall is obviously the biggest one, and that will cover the outfall and potentially any upgrades that we need to achieve biological nutrient removal. Other projects on that 5-year plan are energy-related projects. So we have a project that we're looking at adding, solar and things like that. Another project on there is to replace our cogen system. We have a cogeneration system that uses our digester gas to produce energy. That's an aging piece of equipment. I think that was back since 2002 that equipment has been there. So that's another project that will replace the cogen system. There's a replacement of one of our boilers and a replacement of one of our centrifuges. As part of the last upgrade, we did get one new centrifuge. They decided to leave the second one remaining, but I've put that on the capital budget, I think, in 27, 28 to replace that other centrifuge. And I think that one was installed in 2009. So at that 20-year mark is when we're looking to replace that other centrifuge. There might be a couple other items on that 5-year CIP, but those are the main ones. And we constantly take a look at that to see if we need to add things to that list.
Okay.
And if I may add to that, because the CIP will be considered by the Finance Subcommittee and City Council for review and approval. And we also circulated via email, I apologize that it's not attached to the agenda, a draft work plan for 2026, and we requested feedback on the plan. Items listed under the individual meetings mainly covers updates on operations and on the capital projects. But I believe in the second meeting in May, we also have the budget with projects that are within the treatment plan that would affect both cities prior to its approval by City Council in June. And we also wanted to find out if there is still an interest in a field visit of the plant. We will circulate the work plan again and seek feedback. And there was at some point also an interest in looking at the agreement. I don't know if this is still a need or not, since it's been a while since it was last updated.
That's right. So those are agenda items that I think we got to figure out how to get that in front of the forum here. And I think the director from Hercules, I think you were just coming on as we were having that conversation. Probably hadn't even seen the JPA. So, or I think it was the interim that was here when we had that conversation. So maybe we have that conversation between the two cities and see if there's anything that we can bring back to committee to discuss. But so far, I think everything's running smooth. Sounds like we got a lot under control. So Yeah, Director, please.
I know at the last meeting in April that there was a request by Director Batarai for a plant visit, and so I would very much like to participate. So I think if we could get that scheduled, that would be amazing. Thank you.
Maybe on the weekend? Like a Saturday?
We will
'Cause
be happy to.
we know
come in
everyone's working.
on a weekend, if that's preferred.
It'll be a little
yes.
easier for everybody. Okay,
Okay,
all right,
then we'll email option dates for the visit.
wonderful. Okay, so we'll move to item 7, adjournment to the regular subcommittee meeting, February 19th, 2026 at 7 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.